Party found a sending stone leading to, they have no idea. Tell me your most fun and craziest ideas on who could be on the other end. A goblin child. Make sure that the communications are about the child being scared because their town is preparing for war, and that they will need to hide, etc. Have the messages get more and more urgent, but do not give any indication about the identity of the child, specifically there being a goblin. Have the PCs find the child's stone in the wreckage of some goblin camp they later slaughtered. Magic mouth. You implant a message within an object in range, a message that is uttered when a trigger condition is met. Choose an object that you can see and that isn't being worn or carried by another creature. Then speak the message, which must be 25 words or less, though it can be delivered over as long as 10 minutes. Finally, determine the circumstance that will trigger the spell to deliver your message. When someone picks up the sending stone and tries to communicate through it, a small construct on the other side with said magic mouth picks up and plays the message. We've been trying to reach you about your extended warranty. Etc. etc. Someone who's stuck in a remote location, like an island or a mountain valley. They're unable to escape themselves, but they know where they are and the party can follow the trail. They're friendly enough that the party enjoys speaking to them over the stone. One little problem, the stone was lost 100 years ago. The party eventually finds the person they've been speaking with, long dead. Ever seen that Stargate SG-1 episode where turns out O'Neill and a random-ass hairdresser had been mentally linked and seeing each other's life? Give it to a normal farmer or something like that, who uses the stone to complain about the farm, taxes, his partner, how Betty the cow is sick, etc. An ancient green dragon, who likes to lure and seduce adventurers into serving her. She pretends to be someone nice and ask for small tasks, that slowly get larger over time. Maybe she pretends to be a trapped noble, or a celestial bound in a circle, and if they can just find her the 7 herbs and spices she needs, she'll be able to escape. My players have sending stones for half their enemies. The rogue just finds them rifling through people's pockets. Recently they got one that lets a beholder call them up to threaten them. They should rile the beholder up good, then interrupt him, hold that thought, gotta smite someone. Then get quiet and put the beholder stone next to another villain's stone and connect them. It was being used to relay chess moves between 2 wizard friends. The other side refuses to answer questions or discuss anything but the pending move until the party gives them a valid move for the board. Then, realizing the party is not their friend, the wizard gives them a quest hook to return it to the proper owner, who deliberately lost it a couple years ago and doesn't want it back. Got made into a decorative serving tray for a tavern. Sometimes it's carried, sometimes it's not. If the party uses it much, the tavern gets a reputation for being haunted. Different times they talk to it, different serving folk answer back and might have very different reactions to the sending. Downside, one of the sending stones is now a 3-feet stone tray. So if the party tracks it down, it's huge and bulky to carry. Might be possible to extract the stone from the decorative tray, but it might also break the stone to do so. Do they really want to risk it? A bard that tells jokes. A wizard that uses it to fax a scroll 25 words at a time. A relative of one of the players, who has some explaining to do. The A-team. A bookie? Elminster, turns out he's really lonely. A spy master who has thousands of these. A German radio operator from World War II. If I can steal from someone, can't remember who or where, it can transmit more than 25 words, full duplex, and it allows multiple uses each day. More like a phone than a sending stone. Whenever the party uses it, a furious half-orc answers, shouting at them for waking him up at such an early/late hour. It doesn't matter when the party uses it, the half-orc will always have been woken at an unsocial time. He rants, shouts terrible orcish insults and curses, and complains about problems in his day-to-day life. After a while the stone will occasionally wake the party up, like when the party calls out. Incoming communication never happens when the party is awake, because the half-orc has called them while drunk/depressed/lonely/just bored and wants to talk about his problems. A sphinx who's been bored and lonely for years, and finally has someone to exchange riddles with. We've been trying to reach you regarding your expiring flying carpet warranty. Large Luigi. Gromfbeinra. A random goblin who's wearing it as a lucky charm on a string, and has no idea why some stranger is talking in his head. Themebear Short, who will now complain daily about not being able to fly among the clouds. Homewood Bookshop. There's a 97% chance you reach a kitten playing with the stone at any given time, otherwise, it's the bookstore clerk who will answer to the best of their abilities. The high priest of a cannibal cult on a tropical island who takes the messages from the rock as instructions from their deity. Or a really lonely and single woman just desperately hoping to meet a man with good morals who wants to get married and start a family, and she's totally a real girl and wants to prove it to them if only they can send some gold so she can travel to them. I had my players find 2 sending stones, one a pale yellow, the other pale green. They grabbed them and soon came a chance to use them. I had one just give nothing, silence from the other end, the other was held by the psionic bodyguard of the beg. He would use the stones to implant visions and nightmares on the holder. The party delayed throwing it away but wanted a way to harass the beg as well, smiley face. I still remember the confusion when they tried to use it, and I said you found 2 stones, I never said they were a pair. Fake Google. It's loaded with scryware. It's tracking everything they put into it, everywhere they go with it, everything they hear or say. Passive surveillance. Bypasses non-detection since they opted into it by carrying it. This is a huge plot point in my campaign. But my players don't know that yet. Not directly related to the post, but how would somebody find a stranger with whom they spoke through a sending stone? Let's say that the stranger throws the stone away. Does the one searching cast locate object and then interview people who live in the area where it was thrown out? An angel and a devil who accidentally sealed each other together inside the sending stone. Each time you call, it's a random chance you get one or the other. However, they're both trying to lead you towards them so you can unseal them and they can resume their battle. Star Trek S2E13 Pen Pals. Data helps a young girl on a troubled planet. Make them want to save a child, but doing so makes something bad happen. An exiled prince of the Winter Court. Nicholas Klaus. The stone belongs to part of the underground movement trying to free the gnome slaves he keeps in his court, producing all manner of horrors. And now he thinks your players are part of that underground movement. Guess they just made the naughty list. A horde of kobolds who use the stone to listen in and know exactly when and where to attack the players in sneak attacks. Even worse, throw in some kobold druids with wild shape to make it where your players freak out as the small kobold turns into a bear, or the alley cats turning into a swarm of the little guys. While not via sending stone, this was how a DND campaign went a while back with some buds. I run a game with 9 players and a co-DM. We had an idea for them to get sending stones to be able to split the party and still communicate. But rather than give them both at once, they took a sending stone from a cult leader in session 2, then used it to communicate with another cult leader at the other end whom they had not met, and spent the next 10 sessions trying to find and stop. When they finally got the second half of the sending stone set, they immediately used it as collateral for another magic item, lol. The Tower of Ademelik, who managed to trap himself in the body of a golem that he can't operate. The sending stone is across the room, so he can hear it and be heard through it, but it's extremely faint and he speaks a very old dialect of, insert language here, that is almost entirely unrecognizable by those who speak the modern version of the language. This made me think about a late-season Star Trek, Deep Space Nine episode The Sound of Her Voice. The crew goes on a time-sensitive mission to save a stranded captain before the atmosphere of a hostile planet can claim her. The crew takes turns talking to her to keep her morale up and entertained. At the same time, they speed to her rescue, eventually bonding with her and almost using her as a therapist/sounding board for their complex relationship traumas and issues. Eventually, when they get there, they realize that the communications were being routed through some, insert techno complication here, and her voice was coming from 3 years in the past. The woman they had been talking to all this time had been long dead, but they mourned the loss of a friend all the same. An old lonely granny, who's just happy to have someone to talk to once a day. After first contact, she'll send encouraging messages to the party and makes sure they eat well and dress according to the weather and such. Adventuring doesn't always have to be dangerous, sometimes wholesome is the way to go. I don't have any specific advice other than that you either need to use this as a major plot device, the beg has the other one and manipulates them over the course of the adventure, or it's absolutely chaotic hijinks you can use to break tension/instigate action whenever you like. Another party or dangerous being that just wants someone to talk, just see who uses the stone more and how they interact, then go from there. Then when they are in danger it can go two-way. One, the dragon that the party can't beat is the rogue's long-distance BFF and they notice it. Or maybe when the party is about to die to a green/silver dragon, they get saved by another dragon that heard everything and is their pal. To another party, they fight. If they are losing badly, the enemy party or a member recognizes them and stop it, or maybe starts helping since they are in a long-range friendship with the party and their current one is toxic. Someone dropped the other stone in a latrine. At the worst times, they get short audio clips of the most heinous of bowel movements, or since there's no words being spoken, and uncomfortably long urination, smiley face. Yes, I know I have the mind of a 5-year-old. I have made my peace with this. Make it a shopkeeper that they may or may not have stolen from/harassed, and they hear the shopkeep bitching about them constantly. They sometimes hear pieces of gossip, adventure leads, or trading insights to which shopkeep got what gear. If they decide that they want the pair of sending stones, they can choose to make amends for prior poor behavior, and in doing so receive the other sending stone, or if they try to steal it they'll find the shopkeepers seriously invested in security measures and they end up losing their stone in the process of them getting hauled to jail/fighting for their lives, etc. A friendly and knowledgeable grandmotherly voice who freely offers advice and support on their quest. Gradually gaining their trust, she offers to provide them with something they need/a magic item/powerful spell scroll if they simply pop by and share a meal with her, as her family have all gone and she is so lonely. From there, well, what's a hack to do?
Hey there, fantasy fans. If you're looking for an epic listen, you have to check out Rosamund Pike's narration of the Wheel of Time audiobook. Rosamund Pike brings so much life to Robert Jordan's world. Her performance adds an extra layer of depth to the characters, making the story even more immersive. Whether it's her portrayal of the fearless Aes Sedai or the intense magical battles, she nails it. It's like experiencing the Wheel of Time in a whole new way. And here's the best part. You can get it for free with Audible's 30-day trial of Audible Plus. You'll get access to this incredible audiobook and more, completely free for a month. So if you're ready to dive into this massive fantasy world, this is the perfect way to start. Don't miss out. Check the link below and start your journey today. 100% free for qualifying people. Completely free. Click the link.
A tavern filled with drunks. It's left on the bar as paperweight, and whenever the players use it, a drunk regular will answer it. Eventually, the adventurers will wander into a town with that tavern. The drunk will recognize the voices of the adventurers and repercussions will ensue. I have been in a campaign where there is this mage blight that affects magic users and basically turns them into crystal-covered zombies. For whatever reason, our bard decided to use sending to send a message to the mage blight itself. Obviously, sicknesses can't respond, so we get no response, right? Nope. They did get a response, an unintelligible one at least. The interesting thing is that this implies that this disease is somewhat sentient or being caused by something sentient. Edit, crap. I thought this was a different item. Never mind, it sends words, not items. Sending stone is tied to merchant in a far-away land and every few weeks sends messages updating prices of things in the local market. Wheat prices, salt prices, iron price, etc. Every now and then sends a message asking for a response or an update on local prices. Ignore below? Just a massive cesspit. Previous owner would drop it into a bucket and do their business, and the sending stone would automatically sip it away to the cesspit. Then a quick rinse off with prestidigitation or druid craft, water spray, and they pocket the stone and move on. But this cesspit is huge. Never been emptied. And the mage used it all the time? It's in an enclosed space deep in a dungeon and thus it never dried out. Still wet and sploshy. Worse, it's home to slimes? Oh, so many slimes. Like, start digging in the Monster Manual 7 to find more slimes to populate it with. Every color, type, and design. Cubes, puddings, slimes, molds, you name it. And these little fellas are everywhere. Like, that might be a puddle of horrible bodily waste, or it might be a yellow slime. Or a green one. Or a black and orange striped pudding. Or just foulness after eating at the worst pub in Waterdeep at 4 AM during that one all-night bender after getting out of Undermountain's 5th level. And the way out is directly above the chamber with a sending stone welded to the ceiling. If they can't fly, they'll have to start stacking. Well? Shit. And hope it piles up enough to get out. They will never try another teleport ring, spell, dimension door, sending stone, or other magic item without making sure they know where it sends them. An elderly grandmother, who mistakes the party for her grandchildren, and is so happy they called, and wants to share all kinds of gossip from her quilting bee and knitting circle. DM can roll to see if said group contains anyone significant and give gossip/information couched in silly things, like a dislike of raisin cookies. Maybe she sends her grandkids helpful gifts, or just some cookies now and then. Maybe she calls them once in a while to check in. It could all be very light-hearted, or distracting, or maybe Granny takes tea with her old friend, the former spymaster for the Empire. Any number of things. The assistant to the chief assistant to the head administrator for their world. It seems there has been a mix-up in their paperwork. But it should all be worked out in a decade or two. Have them fight their way through the levels. Bribery. Befriending the right clerks. Breaking into offices to change paperwork. Fights with guards. Assassins who have the wrong person, or do they? Brawls with the local academy students. The list is nearly endless in possibilities. Of course they don't age there, time is frozen respective to the outside universe. They can be killed and wounded. Some all-knowing existence that is for some reason up to date with what they are doing, finds entertainment in their adventures and gives them feedback on their actions. We've in some hints that the entity is somewhat interfering with their fate or inquiring about future plans. In the end, when they find out who the entity is, jump onto the table, point towards yourself and yell, "It was me, Dio." Some guy who sounds like a fucking loser nerd whose dream is to achieve lichdom but hasn't actually made any steps to achieving that goal and is basically just fantasizing, definitely has a lisp, calls himself some ridiculous shit like Maximus, the Dread Father of Agony, his name is Maxwell, tells the party he already has a phylactery and followers, some gullible moron who believes everything he says, and an evil lair, his mother's basement. If they ever go to investigate him, they find out that he's 14 years old and a lowly first-level wizard. The partner of the prominent captain of a fishing boat that was lost at sea. The captain kept the other half of the set on them so they could communicate while they were at sea. The local reefs had been getting more and more overfished, so the captain was desperate enough to set out to some islands offshore despite their haunted and cursed reputation, and one day just stopped answering the calls from home. Every evening, or whatever frequency you want, at the time they'd always agreed upon, the partner goes up onto a hill overlooking the harbor and calls to the captain in the hopes they'll answer back, but they haven't gotten an answer in months/years. Yet still they hope. The stone the party finds once belonged to the captain and got washed ashore eventually. The stone leads them to the partner, who tells their tragic tale. If the party chooses to investigate the islands, cue any one of a few possible tropical island/lost-at-sea quests. The one I'd like to do is an underwater, Davy Jones-type deal, where the boat sank and the crew and captain all drowned, and their bodies were reanimated by some underwater creature with the power to raise undead. The captain and crew now guard that creature's underwater lair and do its bidding, wrecking ships that come too close or slinking onto land in the night to slaughter anyone stranded on or visiting the islands, which have both rich fishing grounds and archaeological significance, or something, to add to the undead army. Defeating the creature frees the captain and crew from their slavery but doesn't bring them back to life, and the undead captain and crew vow to tend to and protect the islands and their rich fishing grounds from now on, to ensure the people from their village can continue to prosper. Plenty of opportunity for adventures on land too, of course. But the above is inspired by the song Down Easter Alexa by Billy Joel, particularly the line "Tell my wife I am trawling Atlantis, and I've still got my hand on the wheel." I want to leave the party with the image of the captain on the remains of their deck, now integrated into the underwater reef/lair and all covered in barnacles and anemones and such, with their hands still on the wheel as they vow to ensure their village never goes hungry again, or whatever, something noble and bittersweet, and have them say a similar line. And then when the party returns to the partner and tells them this, they break down because they're now certain their spouse is dead, but is also grateful to the party for the closure and has some comfort in the thought of the captain still tending to and supporting the village and their people. To a hall of doors, each one with a different symbol over said door but no explanation. They decide to choose the door with the symbol of a cogwheel, and when they step through they are in the Fallout universe using a different game system. They backpedal and choose the door with a stylized DC over the top and step into a superhero world. Use it as a great middle way into other game systems with the same character ideas as a base. This became a side quest in a campaign I'm in. This was the first session the Artificer PC, previous character died, joined, level 4. Artificer has a shady background and stole one sending stone from a circus that was performing in the town, and this circus happened to be tied to another PC's backstory. Bad circus essentially, keeping the performers hostage and having them in abusive and bad environments behind the curtains. Hence, why the PC, a bard, escaped the circus. Many sessions later, it was 2 years later, it's a long campaign, Artificer hears a voice from his bag. It's coming from the stone he stole, which OFC was a sending stone. It was one of the circus performers that was talking, trying to ask for help as he stole the other sending stone attached to the Artificers. They made a plan to find out where the circus was located, as the circus performers weren't allowed to know their future destinations. Long story short, it wasn't the circus NPC that Artificer was talking to, but the ringmaster himself, who was disguised as the performer we thought we were talking to. This ringmaster was who we were mainly against and the sole reason for how the circus was managed badly. He was also a Chongling, something our party discovered after killing him. The PC tied to the circus, a bard, was now a NPC, as the player had to leave not long after level 5, this whole thing wrapped up at level 10. But, This made the bard now become the new ringmaster, and made the circus happier and safer for the performers. If you want it be a full-on encounter or quest, I definitely recommend having it tied to a BBG or an NPC, whether the party knows them or not, who's in dire need of help. If they achieve this, then there can be a really good reward in the end. Having it tied to at least one of the characters' backstories will also make it a personal goal for the party. A bored dragon hell-bent on having some fun by misinforming some mortals, maybe a trusted noble is a dragon in disguise, maybe the town guard of the largest local city have been replaced by cultists, maybe that one shopkeeper is planning the assassination of the king, shrugs in evil GM, who knows, devilish face. It's connected to a group of Hedge Wizard Academy students. Pretty much just go to our /wizard posting for inspiration for conversations. Sometimes one of the students will say something actually useful, other times one of the students, likely drunk, will make some crass joke or stupidly wrong answer in the hopes the outcome will be funny. A few ideas. A dragon has been using it as an arcane baby monitor, but it got stolen/lost, so the party will periodically hear goofy lil burbling baby dragon noises, or maybe it sounds like a baby alligator, who knows. It's tuned to a network of sending stones used by a nearby nation's spy network, and they periodically overhear the operatives speaking in code. Perhaps the party can try to decode the messages to learn of an assassination plot, or a false flag attack on a nearby village that will be used as a casus belli. Various spies, including the one who lost it, will likely track down the party and try to buy or steal it from them. It's a one-way sending stone which the beg uses to spout propaganda now and then. The second stone is invisible and is always hovering 15 feet above the one the party found, if it's able. When they try to speak into the sending stone, it blares out of the invisible one like a megaphone. It's part of a gossip network of various elderly villagers who all have the temperament of Statler and Waldorf, the two old Muppet hecklers. Call center employee for mail order magic items. The items are cheaply priced, but the payments are weekly, sessionally. Without the party being informed of this. This is hidden in fine print they never know about, and the contract includes tons of redundant clauses that protects the sellers of this bullshit. Every time payment is due, a creature of your choice appears on the other side of the first door they open to collect the money. This is not voluntary. He just takes the gold, thanks them, and leaves, while leaving another pamphlet of new and exciting items they can buy or things that are on discount. It's a three-way conversation. The two other people are Nicky and Willie. You have Ferdy's sending stone, he lost it. Initially they sound like gay lovers trying to get their families to recognize their love. It's unclear if Ferdy is in a three-way, or just a friend. They are worried a feud will develop as their families are not nice. Their friend Ferdy is traveling and trying to make peace. The sending stone was supposed to help, but Ferdy lost his. The party can try to help get it back since Ferdy's itinerary is known. Or just listen in on the drama. As the messages continue, it becomes obvious they are Kaiser Wilhelm and Tsar Nicholas trying to avoid the escalation of a regional conflict into a world war. Ferdy is Archduke Ferdinand. Unless the party finds him and returns the sending stone, his assassination kicks off World War I. Oh right, this is DND. All three are dragons? Ferdy red, Nicky blue, and Willie green. A super powerful wizard who is in dire need of assistance to stabilize an artifact that could destroy the world, and trope, that actually ends up leading to some shithead hard who was just seeing how far he could push the joke, timing the characters to show up during a show of his as some kind of avant-garde performance art. A giant mushroom that houses a tavern inside. The staff is the mushroom. The tavern crawls around with thick mycelium, and can be called on with a little mushroom that runs back to the tavern. So when the party killed raiders attacking the mushroom, It broke off some mycelium so it could always be of help. It's some sort of arcane message infinitely repeating. It's in some dead language no one speaks, and they have to do a bunch of research and or seek out scholars who specialize in this ancient civilization. The scholar cracks it, but unbeknownst to the party, has been embroiled in an underground gambling operation, and his debts have caught up to him before he can reveal the final piece of the puzzle. The party has to start all over. But where do they even find another expert on this long-dead civilization? Weeks go by. They've all but given up. They repeat the sending stones phrases to each other as a sort of in-joke. One day, at the bar, they overhear a bookie bragging about offing this bookworm and taking all his ledgers to blackmail his contacts. Turns out they were into some shady stuff. But they also found something weird. Strange runes. One of the guys that run with is a polyglot. Knows every language. It's a skill that comes in surprisingly handy in that line of work, but he didn't recognize it. They figured it must have been some kind of code, but their polyglot friend got curious. Said it seemed older. Like it was some sort of dead language, but he'd have to hear it spoken to understand. He can't make sense out of it from just the notes. The party takes it to him. Finally about to understand what this mysterious archaic incantation might be. The polyglot listens and his eyes light up. Everything starts to make sense. He translates the message in real time. We've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty. A helpful, well-informed angel who always tells the truth. In fact, this being is incapable of lying and wouldn't even if they could, because they believe in you. Super useful, keeps leading them to treasure and warning them about traps and traitors. Tricks them into opening a hell gate and selling their souls, obviously. Extra points if there's a warlock in the party, and it's their patron. An expensive magical concierge service that can locate and provide goods and services nearby. Maybe they can arrange deliveries by red carpet, but all this costs maybe money, maybe something else. This gives you a potential sink for gold and gives the players something cool to play with.
Hey adventurers and fellow Redditors, are you tired of hearing the same old battle music during your D&D sessions? Or just looking for the perfect soundtrack for your next epic quest? Well, let me introduce you to Amazon Music Unlimited. With Amazon Music Unlimited, you get access to over 100 million songs, ad-free. That means whether you need an intense combat playlist, relaxing tunes for a tavern scene, or just something to vibe to while scrolling Reddit, we've got you covered. And it's not just about music, there are thousands of podcasts too. So if you need a break between campaigns, you can catch up on your favorite shows. Plus, there's the best part. If you sign up today, you can try it free for 30 days. No commitment, no hassle, just endless music and podcasts tailored to your taste. So whether you're crafting your next D&D campaign, painting minis, or just chilling with your party, make your soundtrack legendary with Amazon Music Unlimited. Hit the link below and start your free trial now, because every adventure needs a killer soundtrack.